Hey guys, welcome back to the Chronicles of Minty Fresh TV. No one fresher. You're joined with Mint and TK.
Back again, episode 4. In this episode, Mint speaks about the first few times he went to different tuner shops, Autobacs, UpGarage, the whole works. So, let's go.
Let's go. So, tuner shops in Japan. Big difference from tuner shops in the UK. Massive difference.
I should hope so.
It's a big difference. Just kind of figured out there's a small gap from the amount of times that the first few times that I went there to the times that I can actually pull up as a reference for going to different places. But one of the first I would class tuner shops I probably went to was Kazama Auto with Andy. So
the infamous Kazama.
The infamous Kazama Auto, which we mentioned in one of the other episodes, that with the tiled.
Yeah, in episode 1 we spoke about that. Like, that's heavy memory for me.
Yeah.
Is looking at loads of like for sale posts or even just demo pictures or whatever of the tiles. Like, I don't know why, it's such a weird thing to remember, but
it did get a lot of coverage. There was a lot of photos and all that sort of stuff when it came.
I looked back for photos and it was really hard to find actual photos of the tiled place, but then probably a lot of that photos don't exist anymore.
Yeah, because of Photo Bucket. Yeah.
Yeah, Kazama Auto.
Yeah, Kazama Auto. Andy had taken me there. He was kind of working next door alongside whatever he was in partnership with Kazama at the time to deal with like exporting cars. And I remember when I went into Kazama, Andy had the catalogs for every tuner pretty much in Japan. He had like this HKS catalog. It was huge. The Bible. And he was just flicking through stuff and just saying like, you can get anything we want, any parts we need, you can get straight from this catalog. But it was just like the quantity of epic cars that were sitting outside. It's like mental.
Yeah.
S bodies, JZXs, just so many different types of cars just floating around that were all tuned. It was like dream, being like in a dream.
Yeah.
Sitting in those places. I don't even know what I would have been doing between 2009 that period of time, if I even went to any tuner shops in that time. It might have just been trips, like kind of cultural trips.
Yeah.
Or like shop trips, like to actually go to Autobacs or UpGarage. I think the first auto salon though that I went to was probably like 07, 08, so I was probably mainly going there for those for that reason, and then kind of jumping back and forth.
Yeah. When did you go with Ian?
Oh, I want to say like 07, I think.
Okay.
Might have to like come back at a later episode and then be like, oh, so we've actually got to change this information because we were wrong. But I'm sure it was around about that. I've been a couple times with him and it was good experience. K-Style in 2010, Nihonmatsu. That was awesome. So for those that don't know, K-Style, run by Team Orange, Kimakubo, I think it was, that was running that. And again, Andy was my hookup back then.
Yeah.
You know, like he was like one of the only dudes that I knew that I could meet up, and he would show me these sites. So when we were going up Nihonmatsu, Ebisu area, it was he would take me around some spots. And when he took us to K-Style, it was sweet. Ian was there that trip, actually. That was the trip we were driving. I think we were driving that trip. So I had an S13, Ian had a Sil 80.
Yeah.
So we were drifting Ebisu that one.
That was through power vehicles.
Through power vehicles, yeah. That was, yeah.
That's when you crashed.
Yeah. Yeah, totally.
And there's a video of Emily.
It was in the winter, so it was like super snowy.
It must have been around an auto salon time, like January, February time or something.
Yeah, it would have been. I think I went there with Ian to go to the auto salon, and we'd organised an Ebisu trip, and Ian hadn't drifted before. So but I'm fairly sure he had the S15 at that point,
Yeah.
but he didn't want to drift the S15, understandably, because he didn't know how to drift it. So we were like, we'll go to Ebisu and get some lessons on like how to do it. And yeah, that was sweet. But yeah, I did crash that trip.
Yeah.
Which was funny because I remember he had said, like, basically, you crash it, you bought it. So it's like, okay,
Welcome
don't
to
crash
S-body
it.
ownership.
Yeah, don't crash it. And it was super snowy, so only certain circuits were open. But what was cool about that trip is that I thought was he had picked us up in his Pajero, whereas previous trip to Ebisu he had picked us up in some like modified car or whatever and taken us up to Ebisu. But this trip he had picked us up in a Pajero because it was obviously snowy.
Yeah.
And when we got to Ebisu, he took us on to the tailgate course in the Pajero because it was dead. It was like winter time. There was nobody there. So like he went onto the and it was completely covered in snow, and he's like thrashing it around the tailgate course in this Pajero. It's like 4 up, and he's like sliding around the corners and stuff. It's like, this is epic. Like, it's so amazing how you can just do this. Just like turn up, rock in, go on a track in a Jeep, just drive around the circuit like flat out. It was ace.
Pretty wild,
Yeah. But yeah, I had that S13 that trick. So only certain circuits were open, but prior to being let loose on the circuit, we had to do like we go to the skid pan basically and practice in the morning until we got to a stage where they were happy enough for us to actually go out and go onto the track. And I remember I hadn't done a handbrake entry before.
Oh man.
Yeah, so
Did you have the S15 at this time?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I think that's how I got to know Ian, was because we both had the 15s. So I had the 15 and then he got his 15. After he seen my S15, he got his one. Then we started hanging out and then went to Japan. But yeah, I hadn't done like a proper handbrake entry, like in terms of like going up to something and pulling the handbrake and then doing like a 180. I'd never really done that. It was just clutch kicks and power over and on all that sort of stuff. I didn't have I'd never been shown how to actually properly do handbrake entries. And so he basically like had the skid pan, set up some cones, and was like, right, I want you to go down there, clutch in, pull the handbrake. Once it slides, opposite steer, power in, and then just like power through it. He was like, okay, cool. And like after maybe an hour or 2 hours or something, it was like nailed it, and we were doing big smoky figure of eights around the cones and stuff. It was sick. But like after a while, it was getting a little bit repetitive in terms of like, once you nailed that, it was like you nailed it and you were fine with it. Yeah. And you could use the wand to like kind of adjust your angle or whatever. And then we were like, we'll go for lunch, and then after lunch we'll go onto the track. Yeah. So then went out onto the track, and there was only myself, Ian, and one local dude with an A86. It was a Panda Terreno. There was only 3 of us there, and it was so quiet, and I just remember him saying like, yeah, just don't like go too much, just don't bin it. And like I'd gotten into the swing of things and was like, yeah, this is sweet, and then I just like hit like a wet patch, and then back end went straight up into a bank, snowy bank, and I just like plowed the car into it, bent the exhaust and stuff. It was like shit. So the hatchy guy, he had a rope, so he just like pulled me out of the ditch.
Managed to pull you out.
So.
Yeah, that's how things always escalate for you drifting.
Yeah. I'll never forget the video that Emily was like recording at the time. And it was just like, she was just sitting there filming. I'm just doing like lap after lap. And then eventually like you just see me like just kind of like slowly. And she's like, oh shit.
Oh shit.
Stops filming it.
Yeah.
Car was sound though, and Andy was cool about it, so it was all good. We managed to get it straight again, so it was sweet. It's probably in the UK, that car now.
Yeah, probably. So while you're there, obviously, and looking around K-Style, getting speaking to those guys.
Yeah, so that was cool. They had, if I remember right, they had like some Altezas there with 1J swaps, which was like one of the first times I'd probably seen that in real life. Which was really cool to see that they'd put like those engines in those cars. And I remember him saying, like, I was like, oh, this is like an IS300, and he was like, no, it's an Alteza IS200. I was like, an Alteza IS200. I was like, okay, random. But he had like loads of cars sitting outside again, like Silvias, and he had some really cool S15s sitting outside, Team Orange cars.
Did they have the Evo and the Subaru then, though?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They also had an R35 GTR sitting there, and it looked like it had never been like washed.
Damn, that must have been early GTR days.
Yeah, and I remember him saying that it was rubbish. He didn't like it. He didn't like the R35. He just said it wasn't a good car. So he just left it to get covered in dust and dirt, which I was like, wow, that's crazy.
Damn, that is crazy.
Yeah.
I suppose at that time, though, there'd have been zero tuning options for them, or there'd have been like Nismo tune options or something like that. It's always the same when those new cars come out. There's hardly any stuff straight away. Takes ages, and like now, God, there's people 2J swap them and things like that, and there's ways to make them rear-wheel drive without having to mess about with them too much and keep the original engine and stuff. There's so much development now. Okay, what else did you do on that first trip, I suppose, like with that kind of trip where you were there?
Well, that trip with Ian was a lot of partying. It was mostly a party trip. Ian's a good party animal.
Yeah, he is a party animal.
Yeah, we spent a few days up Ebisu, driving. But it was sweet because we didn't go through hardly any tires because it was like minus whatever.
Yeah, icy,
like
and
snow and icy, and we just did a lot of sightseeing that trip. And like that's the thing. It's like I've done so many car things in Japan, but like there's so many things to sightsee. Like there's so many like traditional things to see that there's it would take ages to see. It would take forever to see them all. Like, there's so many things, and once you discover something else, you find there's even more places to go and see. And there's even today there's hardly anything. I haven't seen everything.
No, Japan's a big country when you think about it. Really.
Yeah, it's massive.
And it's obviously so diverse as well across all the different cities and areas of Japan. You know what I mean?
It's like down south is tropical, Okinawa. Up north is like wintry, Hokkaido. Hokkaido is still somewhere I'm yet to go. I haven't been to Hokkaido yet. It's like one of the most northern places of Japan. I haven't been. Been to Okinawa a few times. It's beautiful. It's really nice.
So on those trips, inevitably end up in super Autobacs or Autobacs, I suppose. They were quite common. I suppose they still are quite common.
Yeah, totally. It's changed a little bit over the years. But yeah, super Autobacs for me was like a little shrine. I could go there and like pay for my holiday. You remember the early days when I'd be going over there and buying all those Takatas? Like Takatas were cheap, like back in the day.
Yeah, the yen was weak. Remember, it was about $2.50 or $2.60 to a pound.
Yeah, I remember like I was buying them probably $2.26 yen a pound or something. People wanted harnesses.
Yeah.
Like they were selling like hotcakes, so it like super easy. Just go to Autobacs and they had them on the shelf. It's like you can't get that here.
No.
People were paying a premium. You
couldn't buy Takatas at all. Well, maybe through somebody like Tegawa Imports or something like that, but they weren't common.
No.
That's for sure. That's why I never got Takatas for the Evo. It was always the TRS harnesses because they were easier to get hold of.
Yeah. A lot more available.
They're more available, and they weren't like even when the yen was good, they were still expensive. They weren't cheap, they're £300-400 a set of harnesses.
Yeah, I can't remember. I think I don't know. I don't want to say how much I was paying for Takatas back then, but it was a good price.
It would have been a good price, yeah.
It was a super good price.
Had I known at the time, I'd have probably bought some.
Yeah. But I mean, I could go there, grab like 5 or 6 sets of harnesses, and then sell 5 or 6 sets of harnesses like whilst I was still there.
Yeah.
Which pretty much paid for your trip.
It was like, do it like.
was the way to do it for sure.
Mhm.
Once I realized that, it was like, what else can you kind of do? I mean, those days have gone now. You know,
Yeah.
I remember one of the last times I was at Autobacs and was checking out the price Takatas, and with the exchange rate, it wasn't worth it. It wasn't.
Yeah, the yen's strong now though. That's the
Yeah.
problem. I think it's
Yeah.
like 150 or 160 to a pound.
Yeah.
So it's not as good as it used to be.
No.
So yeah, so you used to go to Autobacs, and then how did you come along? How did you find out about UpGarage?
I think it was just from just friends there that had like, you know, mentioned these garages. So like UpGarage is, for those that don't know, which is probably not many people watching this podcast, but UpGarage is like a used car parts store chain franchise.
Mm-hmm.
So they're dotted all over Japan, and if you want to sell a part from your car, a modified part, and it's in decent nick, you can sell it to UpGarage. They will then clean it, pack it up, put it in like some cling film or whatever, put it on the shelf, and mark up the price. So that's why a lot of guys there will call it markup garage, because like, you know, it's deemed as being expensive for certain parts. But I always got bargains. I got so many bargains out of up garages over the years.
Yeah, I've only ever bought bargains from UpGarage.
Yeah.
Never paid mega money for anything.
Yeah.
Been lucky, I suppose. The Evo parts maybe aren't as desirable.
Yeah.
The thing with UpGarage though is that, like, obviously, there's obviously guys in Japan that don't want to waste time selling stuff. Either like maybe they don't have friends that are into it. That's one thing you find out about Japan. It's not all like mates hanging about together. So there might be this one guy that doesn't have heaps of friends that you can sell stuff to, or maybe they don't have the same chassis or whatever. So it's obviously quick and easy just to go UpGarage and go, I want to sell this. They give you money, you buy whatever you want to buy, and you're done. Like,
yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's a great business model.
Yeah, of course.
It's a really good business model. But yeah, again, it was like you could fund your trips doing that.
Mm-hmm.
You go up, you could like. There's so many up garages as well, and they're not all the same.
No.
So some of them will be epic, some of them will be full of sweet parts, some of them will be tiny and maybe don't have much parts. It's a hit or miss.
Yeah.
And they're usually located in places where it's not so easy to get to for a foreigner that doesn't have a car. For the purpose that they're designed for people with cars.
Yeah.
So for you to get to like a specific up garage, you've got to take like stupid amount of trains, walk a certain distance to get to this place.
Mm-hmm.
But that's what I did. Like for a lot of these trips, the majority of my time was spent traveling to random up garages or random Autobacs stores to see what they had. And the Autobacs wasn't as much of a thing because you could, 9 times out of 10, that up garage had the same bits as that up garage. Autobacs had the same as that Autobacs. So.
Yeah, there's another Autobacs.
But for the up garage, it was different. And
purely because obviously people are trading in things at different garages.
Yeah, local to their home or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I've been to so many. I don't know how many I've been to, like across Japan. Like I was even on them down in way down south and stuff. So it became a part of my trip. And when I looked back at my blog post, I was like, damn, like I'd forgotten half of these places I went to, like some of these shops, hunting for random bits, and I remember when I was hanging out with Neil from the GTR Owners Club. He had an R33 GTR. Ian and me was actually hanging out with him on this trip, and we had. I think this trip was actually the one where we had said we wanted to go to Daiko. I'd obviously heard a lot about Daiko. Had no means of getting to Daiko other than renting a car. But even renting a car, I didn't know how I was going to get there. So put a post up on the GTR Owners Club, the Skyline GTR Owners Club, because I knew that they had a few members on there from Japan. Yeah. And Neil had got in touch with me and said, he was up for giving us a lift and hanging out and blah, blah, blah. So it was sweet. So they'd organised like this little mini meet, Miguel from...
New Era.
Yeah, yeah. And there was a couple of other guys. And that's how I met him actually, like through that Owners Club. He was up at Ebisu with us as well, actually, in his A86. That was cool. But yeah, he had taken us to Daiko. But he had said that if there was like a part in an up garage that wasn't close by, they would ship it to his closest one, which was epic. So like if you went onto their website and you found a bit you really wanted that bit, they would, for a small fee, they'd send it to the closest one to you, so you could just go and grab it from there. It was like, this is an amazing business model. Like,
Yeah.
like it's so smart. So
Yeah,
I
it's
got
pretty
loads of bits. I
wild.
got arc air boxes and all sorts. I was like a kid in a candy shop, like going to these places and picking up parts. It was.
It's a shame now that Kruber have basically stopped shipping here.
In a way, it was in a way, it was a good thing they started it. It's also a bad thing they started because it became a lot less like exclusive for those that did make the trip
Yeah,
over there to
totally.
get the bits. It became. I mean, it was great that they made it readily available for everyone. But
Good for me.
yeah, good for you. Yeah.
I just go on the internet and look at what I want and find it.
I mean, I remember speaking with Zach and stuff a few years ago when we were there about the fact that there isn't any bits left. There was such a small amount of cool parts left in these places in comparison to what it was like 10 years ago, 5 years ago, or whatever.
Yeah, and it's only going to get worse. Like,
yeah, for
the
sure.
guys at Juice Box, like Neil, when he did the Juice Box video for Japan, he was, he's saying that a lot of the cars are leaving. There's not so many cars. Like, he still found cars, but there wasn't as many as there used to be. And I've read a few blog posts and seen a few videos where people, like the usual thing where you walk out in the street and you see modified cars that don't exist anymore.
Yeah, right.
But then I think, to be honest, the same could be said for here. Like, you see the usual kind of modified cars here, but back in the day, like back 10, 15 years ago, you'd have seen Evos every time you went out.
Yeah.
Or you'd have seen maybe not S15s, but certainly S bodies.
Yeah.
Every time you went out here, whereas now, very rare to see them.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I saw an EK9 here last month. It's like the first EK9 I've seen years. I haven't seen an EK9 kicking about here for years. So yeah, definitely changed days now. But I mean, last time I was there, 2020, it was still, the streets were still full of like cool cars. Not necessarily maybe drift cars, but there was still loads of cool cars. A lot of people in Japan will go down the route of modifying the car instead of buying a house.
Yeah.
Like that's a thing. So
yeah.
it's still popular in comparison to here, but yeah, maybe not as much of a peak as it was before.
So an episode where we spoke about when you bought wheels for the MX-5, the Bozo, so they came from UpGarage.
Yeah, they came from UpGarage. Yeah. Yeah, they were sweet. They were sweet wheels. I'd been given a lift by a girl that I was going out with at the time. She had her mum's car. And she had picked me up and taken me. She had said, like, oh, what we're going to do today? And I was like, oh, let's go to UpGarage. She's like, she wasn't into cars. So she's like, what? Like, okay, if that's what you want to do, like, yeah, we'll do that. So she picked me up, took me to the UpGarage, walked in, spotted these 4 wheels like at the entrance and was like, whoa, these wheels are sick. Like, amazing Watanabes and Longchamp XR4s. And yeah, that's when I'd contacted Al about them to see if they fit.
Yeah.
Or I think if I remember correctly, I'd gone there the day before myself and spotted them. And then the day after when I was meeting her, I'd got her to give me a lift. So that
Put them in the car.
Get the wheels in the car. I'd said, could you get your mum's car or whatever? She's like, yeah, cool. So we'd gone back and they don't ship parts outside of the country. So they were kind of a bit like, what are you going to do with them? And I was like, oh, got a car, put them in the car or whatever. So yeah, I bought those 4 wheels with tires. And then, but I'd spoken to Shaz. Shaz had said, take them to this place. We'll get them couriered back to the UK. It's like, cool. No problem. But then when we put them in the car, took them to the place was shut. So it was like, damn, she needed to get home with her mum's car. So it was like, okay, I've got 4 wheels and 4 tires. The place that I need to take them is shut. It's like, damn.
Can't put them in a capsule hotel.
No. No. So I ferried them around for a while. 4 wheels. It was a pain in the ass. And then eventually I found a place that was like across the highway and blah, blah, blah. You had to go down this way. And I spoke to this garage and asked them if I could leave these wheels with them. They were a bit like, what's going on here? This is random. But like, again, it's the same deal. Like, you imagine a foreigner turning up here with like 4 wheels and tires on his own, basically being like, can I leave these 4 wheels and tires with you?
Yeah, I'll be
because you're a car garage. So But I did it, and then I went home, went back the next day, and then picked up the wheels, and then had to ferry them around. It was a total disaster. Like, it was a total faff. Took ages. I'm not going to go into
Trying
it.
to shift 4 wheels anyway is a faff.
I know, because you're having to pick two up, and you're like, I'm not exactly built.
No.
Try to pick up these wheels with tires, drag them around, and put them down, walk back, get more wheels and tires, and then it's like some drift day in the middle of Tokyo. It's like, this is shit. Should have got a rental car. But yeah, and then if I remember, yeah, because that's the thing. It's like, I say the place was shut. The office floor was shut, but the building wasn't shut. So like, I did this. So like, ferried the 4 wheels into the lift. You know what I mean? Like, asking the dude, like, hold the door. It was a total drama. Like, I was asking the security guy, hold the door open, and I'm like, drop the 2 wheels. I'm sweating buckets. You know, just wait. And then like went back outside, picked up the other 2, went back in, put them on top. I'm like, oh, thank you. Right, chill. Into the lift, top floor or whatever. It's like, right, get to the very, very top. I'm like, right, sweet, this is going to be decent. And like, door opens and it's like just dead. And I'm like, okay, weird. So I'm like, right, foot on the door, 1 wheel out, 4 wheels out. And I'm like, right, pick up 2 wheels, walk down the corridor. And I'm like, top floor of this like fucking 50 floor building or something. I don't know, massive, real fancy executive sort of setup. But everything's just like closed. So I was like, what do I do now? Like, what am I supposed to do now? So basically, I found out it was like shut for that day. So I had to like get them back in the lift, back down the lift, back out the lift, then ferry them all the way eventually to this garage.
Yeah.
The next day, repeat the same process because I knew they were open. Wheels back across, blah blah. I was in a train at one point with 4 wheels, and it was not fun. Like having to quickly. It was thankfully not rush hour, because if it was rush hour, I wouldn't have done it.
Yeah.
But I got the 4 wheels in there, and it was a rapid job. You had to be so rapid to get them in and get them out, and just move them like every so far, put them down, go back, pick up the other 2, and it was just constant for ages. Honestly, it took me like a day. And so anyway, got them back up to the top floor of this building, and like the door opens and it was full of people, and I was like, whoa, this is totally different from yesterday. So I was like, obviously, like I was like a mess, like, so I was just like, right, 1 wheel out. Second, I was pro by this point with how to move 4 wheels and tires. Like, so I was like rapid. So I was like 4 wheels out the car, out of the lift shuts, and then just standing there like looking around at all these people, and they're like, quite a few of them were just looking at me like, what is going on?
Who's
like,
this guy?
Who's this guy? It's like all these like fancy office looking workers, and then here's me, like total looking a mess. And I like went up to the desk bit and said, oh, I'm here to drop off 4 wheels and tires. She's just like, what?
No, you're not.
You're not supposed to be here.
You're supposed to be downstairs, bro.
Yeah, you need to like take these downstairs or whatever. And I'm like, no, it's not happening. Like, no way. I've just done all this. She's like, you can't just turn up with wheels basically that are not packed or nothing, You just, what do you expect us to do? We're like an international courier company. Like, I understand now working in logistics, like you can't, we couldn't send out non-containerized contents on our boats nowadays. You know what I mean? Like, if somebody turned up our quayside with like a pallet, we'd have said like, "Fuck off, get that, put it in a container."
Container, bro.
So like, I can completely get it now, but at that point, I had no idea. I was just like, I don't know. Like, my mate told me come here with these wheels. He said he was going to sort it all out.
I remember you like messaging me or phoning me and being like, they won't even take the wheels, dude. Like, they want me to package them up, and I'm just like, oh really? Like, oh, I never thought about it. I'm like, oh, that's shit. Like, can't believe they wouldn't take them. And you're like, I can't believe this. This is such a faff.
It's like a 3-day from when I first spotted them, 3-day operation to get these to the courier. And I'd been phoning Shaz and was like, bro, like I'm here. I'm at the top floor of this building. I'm at the reception desk. I've got all the wheels here, but they're not taking them. And he's like, really? That's strange. Let me make a phone call. It's like, okay, cool. And then within like 10, 20 minutes, I sat down and waited, and then this woman comes up. Okay, sir, no problem. All sorted.
Yeah.
I was like, decent. Okay,
Power
cool.
of Shaz.
Power of Shaz. Shaz, he was obviously quite high up within his own setup, so he made that happen.
Yeah.
So that was good. And then, got them shipped 40 hours. They were sitting on my doorstep. So
yeah, it's pretty wild.
Rapid.
Rest is history with those wheels, pretty much.
Yeah, they were really nice wheels. Really nice wheels.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, UpGarage was awesome. It was awesome for that. But
It's still, it's as I say, it's a shame they've stopped shipping to the UK. I've had some mega deals from there. Like my arc airbox came from there,
yeah,
and it was mega cheap. And it was cheap because it had a hole in it. But when it turned out, it was like the smallest hole I've ever seen. It's basically just rubbed through the aluminium. And I like working in a industry where I can get somebody to weld it if I had to. It was never a worry. Just get welded up. So the most expensive thing in that arc airbox is the actual filter, which you got from Japan
yeah,
at one point. I bought the cooling panel that came from Japan. It was £8 from Kruba through
yeah.
UpGarage. And then the bride seat rail I got recently, that was 32 quid shipped. Ridiculous. Like
Mm-hmm.
you can't even, even if you're buying a second hand rail, it's still 60, 70 quid.
Oh yeah.
Easy. I'm trying to think what else I bought. A few bits and bobs. Just crazy. It's such a shame that they've stopped doing it.
I think I got an arc airbox for 180SX for 20 quid. It's a full box with filter.
It's crazy.
Sold it that day.
Yeah.
Bought it for 20 quid, took it back, sold it like matter of hours later for like, I'm not going to say how
10
much.
times, 20 times.
A lot.
Probably. Yeah.
It was still cheap compared to what some were up for sale for, but
Mm-hmm.
compared to what I paid for it. Just being in the right place at the right time with the right parts.
Yeah.
For
It's
the right
always the
price.
same though. It's like, it's everybody, everybody that sells parts is the same.
Yeah.
There's a reason why there's companies that sell parts for money.
Yeah,
you know
for
what
sure.
I mean? Like,
For sure.
so so K-Style, all those kind of dudes. Other places you've been, BN Sports.
Being to BN Sports, yeah, that was an experience. That was like what could I say about that? That was I went there because I'd already been doing aero and I wanted to I'd been doing some aero, I'd been doing wings, but I wanted to do a kit. And I was like one of the biggest BN Sports fanboys at the time. So to go to BN Sports was like a big deal for me. I got to go there and meet the owner, meet the staff, see the demo cars, and I got to see what he was working on for the salon. I got to see his setup and how he ran everything, and it was really inspirational. Before I knew it, we were sitting down and he was offering me discounts on sponsorship for doing certain comps, which I was not there to talk about. He was offering deals and blah blah blah, but it was a good experience overall. It fueled me to create the kits that I created though, because I had asked him if he would make an MX-5 hovercraft kit, because obviously I really wanted that.
Yeah.
And he wasn't up for it because they had transitioned from their hovercraft style to their GT style. That was the style they were going down, which is fine. It's fair enough.
Which again, with hindsight, you can totally understand.
Yeah.
Because you're doing the aero now. There's no like if you made a kit 5 years ago, you wouldn't want to go back to that making that kit just for one random guy that turned up out the blue.
I mean, don't get me wrong. He said to me that if I had offered him a team of 10, he'd consider it.
Yeah.
But at that point, we weren't in that place.
No.
So yeah, what it did is it just fueled me to do it myself. So I'll do it myself, and did it. So yeah, that worked out sweet. But it was good to see how he works, and like I took some from that. So when he was building an FD3S and R35 for Autosalon, and this was still in like the early stages of making it. And I'd said to him, "How do you get this symmetrical? Like how are you getting both sides symmetrical?" And he was like, "Oh, it's just by like eyes and numbers and measurements and rulers." It's like interesting. And he said to me that you'll find that this car out the factory isn't symmetrical.
No.
Which I never thought about that beforehand. But he said to me that you'll find that the S13 when it comes out the factory, it's like both wings are not the same. They're never going to be the same.
No, that's why you have adjustment in every panel.
Yeah. And it made me realize at that point, like, I'm focusing more on how do I make this 100% symmetrical when I shouldn't be.
Yeah.
Because you're never going to make it 100%. To a degree, you'll never, unless you're using lasers and printing,
Yeah.
But by doing it by hand, you're not going to achieve like 101%. You'll get like 99%.
Yeah, the only way to achieve 100% accuracy or even 99.9% accuracy is to use a machine
Yeah.
and to have it do it both ways. You know, it's the same with the industry I'm in. If we're machining something, if you had to file that by hand, it would never be symmetrical. Like you would
Yeah.
never make it the same. You probably wouldn't even make it within tolerance of the thing you're trying to make.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Depending on your tolerances. But if you're machining it, it should be. The only time you'll ever have a problem with the machine is if you tell it something, tell it something that's wrong, or like the tip you're machining with becomes damaged in some way.
Yeah,
And that's
yeah.
that's where you get issues with machining. So So once you realise that, it was probably a lot easier for you to make.
Yeah, it was.
after
I
that.
didn't need to think about that element of it. You could just go on with the actual part itself.
Mm-hmm.
I also learned that he wasn't replicating his parts. He had gotten himself to a cushy position where he was just designing, and that's what I wanted to do.
Mm-hmm.
He would design a part, and then he would send it to a workshop down the street, and they would knock out however many, which was smart. From a business side of things, that was smart.
And that's also, like, again, business and things I've been lucky with, I've learned that's how you keep your costs down as well. If you're doing everything yourself, it takes longer and it costs more money.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's why Rocket Bunny stuff's so expensive, because he's making that stuff by hand.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But if you look at the bigger companies that are making it, that are cheap, you could argue cheaper, but maybe not. Like, trying to think of a company. Somebody like...
In all fairness, BN Sports in Japan isn't expensive.
Isn't expensive.
I wouldn't say so.
No. It isn't really expensive buying it here either. Like, if you're buying the problem with the kits here is the price of shipping.
Shipping, yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, Aim Gain is amazing quality.
Yeah.
And you're paying for that fitment, and that's same with BN. You can buy a knockoff BN from down south or other countries, but it won't fit.
Yeah.
It won't fit. Like, no matter, with all the best intention in the world, and that's because they're replicating it over and over again.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, it was a good experience though, to get to meet all the guys and all that sort of stuff. Autobacs though. Autobacs was a game changer for me in terms of like things to do. I think I don't know. I think one trip in Japan, I think I went to Autobacs almost every day.
Yeah.
Yeah. If it wasn't the same one, it was a different one. But so my favorite Autobacs in Japan is one in Shinonome, which is Tokyo Bay, and it's the Super Autobacs, and it's the one that I would go back to like on the regular. So like when I'd get back to Japan, that's where I'm going. Shinonome Autobacs, Super Autobacs, and again, it's like easily accessible by car. By train, you've got to take like 2 trains and a like a surface train or whatever. So it's like 3 trains from middle of Tokyo to get to this Autobacs. And I would just go there, and I'd be there for hours, like literally. When I'm in the UK, I don't shop. I don't go anywhere to shop. But when I'm there, I'm going there and spending 4 or 5 hours in a Super Autobacs just chilling out.
Yeah.
Like when I first started going there, they had like a cafe up top. Top floor, it was like a cafe bookstore, Lint's bookstore, and you could buy all your Hyper Revs, you could buy like all those sort of magazines, and they had just heaps of them. So if you bought depending on what you bought, you would get like a little card, and the dude there would stamp your card, and then once you reached however many, you'd get like either money, I think, off, or you would get like a free book, and then you would get like a next card, which had maybe slightly more to thingy. So I was like getting these stamped all the time, like this, I was filling up a card, and then on the next card, filling that one up. Became friendly with a guy. He was so sound. And then right next to that, there was like this cafe where you could buy hot dogs, And in fact, you should pull. I've got a photo you can pull up, and it's a picture of Ian sitting there, like at this place. And then there's another photo with like the hot dog and stuff. It was just like typical, like American style hot dog
Yeah.
and fries. But it was so good. I don't know if it was a placebo, but it was so good. And like you could just sit there and chill and read your Hyper Revs book, and then look down at the floor and see like all these wheels and like Recaros and Brides and Nardis and Tacatas and all these parts, and people just picking up parts and car tuners and stuff. And it was just epic. It was so much fun, like just to do that. I met so many people as well just by chilling out there. Like all the people would turn up there because it was like, you know, you could get there by car real easy. So and it had a big car park set up. So loads of tuned cars would turn up. So every time you went there was different cars there, and like they would come and go and come and go. So if you just spent like an hour outside, you'd see so many cool cars, like just people parking up, and you'd be like, I've taken so many photos from that place.
So did that Autobacs must have had like a fitting bay for doing wheels and tires?
Everything, everything.
It's the one I want to go to is the one with the dyno.
With the dyno, yeah, right. Yeah.
It amazed me that there was a dyno in a shop.
Yeah.
Like equivalent to Halfords. It's crazy. I remember all the videos and photos you used to send me of things like, you know, Def E-gauges just chilling on a shelf, and I
They
can't
had
believe
everything.
that. Like, I know there's not a big enough market here, but you know, it's always amazed me that there hasn't been something like that here at one, you know, even at the high times like 2010 or whatever, or you know, 12 kind of time. I can't believe there's never been a massive shop here, but I suppose it's probably, where would you put it? Like,
yeah.
like if we had an Aberdeen, it'd be a waste of time.
Yeah.
Nobody from south of Glasgow would want to come.
People are tight.
Yeah.
It's gonna, you know, I mean, like we'd be charging premium prices.
Mm-hmm.
People wouldn't want to pay premium prices.
Yeah, everybody wants something cheaper.
Everybody wants something cheap, especially here. But everyone over there is so polite, and stuff's good priced anyway, so that's where it's made. Yeah, Autobacs was sweet, but like, that Shinonome one that I remember I came across this chick called. I don't know if I should actually say her name on the camera. Actually, I've just said
it. We can blank it out.
Okay, yeah, we'll blank it. I mean, it's 6.5 a dozen now. It probably makes no difference, but
it could be any chick. Name.
Yeah, it could be. I just gave the address of the fucking Autobacs as well, though. So, yeah. Anyway, it doesn't matter. This chick, she worked there, and she was really nice girl, and she was like when I would turn up with loads of parts, she was the one that they'd send me to go and speak English because she could speak some English.
Oh yeah, okay.
And she helped me send parts back to the UK. When I told her I had an S15, because she was like, "Why are you buying all these parts?" And I was like, "I've got an S15, but it's in Scotland." She's like, "Oh, I've got an S14," and I was like, "Damn, no way! What's the chances?" So, I used to just go back there on a daily basis to see her, not even necessarily to buy anything, but just to go and like speak to her or whatever, and all that sort of stuff. And then, after a while, became quite friendly with her, and then. She offered to take me to the airport on my last day. And I'd done so many trains, many trains. I was so fed up with going on trains. And like the concept, the thought of going back to Narita by train, I was like, oh, I just can't be arsed. So she was like, I'll take you. And I was like, damn, like that's a long way. She's like, I'll take the S14. I was like, oh, damn, no way. Okay, this sounds decent. Went back to the hostel and told the dudes there that I'd been hanging with, like, oh, I met this girl and I've been going to see her and stuff. And she's got a drift car.
JDM chick.
Yeah, a JDM chick. And she's got this drift car, and I was like, she's gonna pick me up. She's gonna pick me up and take me to the airport. And they were like, yeah, bullshit. I'm telling you, she's gonna do it. They were like, nah. They just thought I was just speaking shit. And then I remember that morning sitting down in like the chill room or whatever, just waiting. And this dude, I think his name was Leon, was like, yo, man, your drift chick's outside. I was like, no way. It's like decent. And then like went upstairs, and then here's this like beautiful S14A just like sitting there. I was like, wow, it looks epic. Had like Enkai's on it, like kitted, all that sort of stuff. And yeah, right enough, she'd come and pick me up. I was like, this is decent. So yeah, I loaded the car up, and then as soon as she moved the car, I was like, oh damn, it's like, you got a diff in this? And she's like, yeah. I was like, two-way. She's like, no, 1.5 way. I was like, oh, sick, 1.5 way. And then we got to the end of the street. It was like first thing in the morning. got to the end of the street, and then she like stuck it in first, and then just like powered out from the corner in second, just like sideways down this like 3-lane road in Japan. And I just like looked over at her, and she's just like got the biggest smile on her face, and she's just loving it. And I was like, oh damn! I was like, this is amazing.
Wife material.
Yeah, it's like, wow, I can't believe that. But yeah, she was so cool. She took me to the airport. Yeah, we kept in contact for a good few years after that. Met up and all that sort of stuff. She was cool. Yeah. These kind of experiences, though, are like moments in your life where it just like makes such an impact that like shapes your whole future. You know,
Yeah.
like seeing her doing that in the streets was just like, damn, I need to see some more street drifting in Japan. You know, and then like, yeah, that's where that went. It was sweet.
Yeah. Whenever you came back from Japan, it seemed to be you were more focused on something else every time. Like on this trip, you bought wheels, so you were focused on getting them on MX5 and making them fit. And then, you know, other times you'd come back from trips and be more focused on drifting. And, you know, it's probably been lacking this last few years.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Yeah, the inspiration's not been quite the same.
It's been, as we touched on other episodes, it's been good for company and aero development, but not so much for inspiration and probably motivation for you as well. Eh?
It's like all the people there motivate me so much. You know, it's like Ryota, he inspired me like a lot. You know, I lived with Ryota for, God, it must have been 5 months, 6 months I lived with him. And yeah, he inspired me a lot. I lived with Casque for ages as well. Like, he let me stay at his house for ages. He inspired me. Hanging out with Casey, like when I got to go for dinner with Casey a few times from Shirts Tucked In, you know, his whole like mentality is so good. He's a really positive sort of dude, and
such a dude.
All the guys are so sound. They're good.
Is it only foreigner to win Kansai All Stars as well?
Yeah, big up Casey. Well done. That was a really good achievement, I think.
That's a mega achievement.
Yeah,
mega.
Yeah, miss those dudes.
You'll be back, man. Don't worry.
Yeah, I'll be back.
You'll get back someday.
I was actually looking at flights just last week. I was like, because they're kind of technically now legit and open again now. And now that I see like Bandana Boys there, I'm like, oh damn, Bandana's there. So I want to go and chill with Bandana and see him, hang out with him. And I messaged Ryota just yesterday, was it, the day before? And was like, Ryota, you need to give me like the history on like us and like how did we meet and stuff. Like I was like, I need to jog my memory. And he was just like, I remember it specifically, but it's too long to type. And then sent me these voice messages saying like the story on how we met and stuff. And it was like, damn, he's got such a sharp memory with that stuff. He can just recall it all.
Yeah. Well, he's definitely coming on the podcast at some point.
Yeah. I want to get Ryota on here. He'd be up for that, I'm sure. He's cool.
I don't know if he's worried about his English, maybe, but that's not going to matter. His English is but way better than our Japanese.
His English is good, yeah.
Yeah,
his English is good.
That should be good, I think.
Yeah. I need to speak to Casey, actually, see if he would want to be up for jumping on board.
That'd be cool. Like.
That would be cool.
Yeah.
He's been like one of the biggest inspirations for me personally in terms of his achievements and his brand and what he's done with that.
Yeah.
You know, he's always doing better. You know, he's shooting for that higher kind of level. It's really good to see. And Cascade too. Cascade's been doing really good with 86 Fighters. It's good to see him releasing new products and stuff and working alongside Casey and stuff.
It's good to see these dudes succeed. Like,
yeah, for sure. When Casey did the collab with Nardi, that was like boom. Like that was. I couldn't believe that. Like that was just epic.
It's pretty wild.
Like I know Driftworks had like Nardi's, but I couldn't think of another like blog just like that had gone and collab, like done a deal with Nardi and released like a Nardi wheel. Like that was just amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's plenty to talk about Japan. Yeah. God, I've got like pages and pages of notes here.
Not even touch Auto Salon or Daiko photo yet.
Yeah, Daikoku Futo's where it's at. Yeah, I need to mention the fact that Taspo ruined my life over there.
That's what I said. Let's before we end this episode, let's end this on the Taspo.
So when I first started going to Japan, you could buy cigarettes and beer from a vending machine. Simple as that, and it was decent. So like 24 hours a day, wherever you were, if there was a vending machine, you could grab a pack of smokes, you could grab a beer.
Mm-hmm.
And then they pied it. Like they pied it. Like, obviously, I get why they did it, why they stopped it, but like,
Yeah.
it was so decent. Like, you could just go up to the vending machine and stick in some coins and get some beer. It was like, this is such a legit idea. Like, and then like all of a sudden they introduced this Taspo, whatever it's called, Taspo, and the beer vending machines got phased out.
Mm.
And then it was just cigarette vending machines with Taspo.
What's Taspo though?
Taspo was just like a card, just like an ID almost.
Oh, right, okay.
Just to say that you were like old enough to use it, which I get, but like kids weren't buying cigarettes. It's like, geez, chill, guys.
Not
like,
in Japan.
Not in Japan. You don't need to go and put Taspos and shit in.
Yeah.
So they put these Taspos in. So I'm like out drinking with my mates and like, you guys got Taspo cards? No, it's brand new, bro. We don't have Taspo cards. I was like, what do you mean? I was like, no, can't buy cigarettes. This sucks. Like, no one has a Taspo card. Couldn't buy any cigarettes. Couldn't buy any beer from vending machines. Thankfully, you can buy beer from 7-Eleven convenience stores. They're 24 hours, so you just got to go find one at that. But if you're in the middle of the hills, like, it's not annoying. It's not ideal. You got to go and pick that stuff up from the shop beforehand.
Yeah, it always amazed me. There's vending machines in the middle of nowhere.
Middle of nowhere.
They never get vandalised because Japan.
Yeah.
See, if that was here, they'd be smashed and rammed in no time.
Yeah, you know where they do get vandalised at like Ebisu, where people are foreigners, and they'll just like, they don't vandalise them, but they'll still cover them in stickers like we did. So like, yeah, it's like foreigners turn up and like just wreck the place. It's like, yeah, typical.
Bloody foreigners.
Yeah, damn Gaijin. But yeah, the vending machines were pretty sweet, and then they changed it again so that like it was like facial recognition, not facial recognition, but it would scan your face to determine whether or not you were old enough to buy cigarettes.
Damn.
Which wasn't good for me.
No, because without a beard, you look about 12.
With a baby face anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Like, remember I was with this girl at the time, and she was older than me. And yeah, she didn't look it. She looked younger than me, but she was totally fine. She could go up and boom, boom, boom. She got her cigarettes. It's like, scan my face. Like, no bueno. It's like, you're like 10. Get out here. It's like, it's racist. This machine is being racist towards me. Like, I had to get her to buy my smokes for me. It's like, this sucks. Yeah. Because like, yeah, at that point, like, even then though, I didn't get ID'd because like not many young dudes were like, not many dudes were going there by themselves that were under the age to buy, so people wouldn't ID you. So it was sweet. Yeah, the whole drinking culture in Japan's an entirely different conversation. Yeah, we can get into that later, but yeah, we should wrap this episode up for now, though.
It's funny though. You finished your rant now. You're happy now. You
yeah,
feel better now.
I wanted to just moan about that Taspo card.
Taspo rant.
Yeah.
Over.
Thankfully, as I say, convenience stores are there everywhere. Like literally, there's a 7-Eleven, and then there's a Lawson, and then there's whatever, and they're like, one's there, one's next door, one's across the road, one's on that corner, and it's like that's where the drinking game, the 7-Eleven drinking game came from. You know, we can get into that later. But
yeah, we can cover that another time.
For sure.
But yeah, cool. Oh well.
Sweet.
If you like this episode, remember to comment, like, and subscribe.
Yeah, give us.
It does help us, as everybody
up.
Always tells you on YouTube videos. It does help the channel, and it will help us.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
Yeah, for sure. Give us a comment. Let us know what you think of this episode and what you'd like to hear in future episodes. And click the notification bell, and then you'll get like some sort of thing that'll say,
do the thing. Ring the bell.
Ring that bell. Ring the bell. Give us a thumbs up. Let us know what you think.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll be back. Catch you in the next episode of Mini Fresh TV, Chronicles of No One Fresher.
See you, bye.
Peace.
Laters.